Hello and welcome. This is rooflemonger, my friends. Pretty busy day for fighting games. Turns out we've already had some excellent Dead or Alive news. Please check the video on that if you have not already. And we also now know a good deal more about Marvel Tokon. So some things we've already discussed on the channel, like the 20 character roster, because that got out a little bit ahead of time. But now we got some fun things like, hey, finally some more characters. Been a while. And some of these, like, hey, Wolverine, everyone expected. Well, who didn't expect Wolverine? Most obvious choice for the game ever. And don't get me wrong, obvious isn't necessarily a bad thing, but obvious. But then less obvious, how about the Danger Room? Yes, if you know your old X-Men, the Danger Room, yes, the Danger Room is a character these days. And she's got some story on her, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. So we got Danger, we have Magik, we have Wolverine, so we got some stuff, and we also now have some details about just the game in general, the release date, some, content coming post-launch. So let's talk about that first, and then we'll dig into the rest. So we got a whole heck of a lot of goodies. We have a release date that is August the 6th. So this year, although a bit later on in the year, we got some silly pre-order stuff like, hey, the Infinity Gauntlet for your Battle Hub avatar. Howard the Duck as a lobby character, that's a deep pull. And like some of these characters here are deep pulls, so I appreciate that. We got the usual 4-character year 1 pass, wish it was more, but oh well. We got actual costumes. Arc System Works finally figured out costume DLC. This is a new era for them. And not only that, they're banger costumes. Like we have classic Iron Man and Captain America, that's good. Supreme Ruler Doom looks excellent. We have PlayStation, Sony Spider-Man, and for me, and a lot of Storm fans out there, there's some wars about Storm's hairstyles. I myself am very firmly in the Mohawk Storm camp. And to see Mohawk Storm as an actual thing that can be done in the game, over the moon with that. It was actually the first skin I bought in Marvel Rivals too. We got Fancy Lad animated colors for all characters. Okay. Hopefully they're not hard on the eyes, because if they are, I don't want to see them in ranked all the time. And all these goodies can be yours if you get the Ultimate Edition. Pre-orders start later this month. Don't know the cost. I'm sure it's not cheap. But if you're a sicko like me and you need all the cool gewgaws and doodads and costumes, well, you're going to get it anyway. So why fight it? So now, before we get to the gameplay bit here, we did have an animated intro, so showcasing some of the story a bit early, giving us potentially an idea what's going on, and by PlayStation Blog, they've also given us a little blurb about the story, and it's called Episode Mode. So in collaboration with Marvel Games, we've adapted the narrative, world, and characters specifically for this game. The game depicts Marvel heroes and villains, including the X-Men standing against a new threat. Episode blends American comics and Japanese manga into a new form of storytelling adapted for a modern video game format. We have collaborated with a renowned writer from the original Marvel comics to help build the world and write the scenario. The story is presented as motion comics centered around manga illustrated by celebrated artists. The game will feature full voice acting across 10 languages, and then a bunch of, PlayStation friendly literature here for your perusal. We hope you look forward to a new way of experiencing Marvel stories distinct from comics or films and made possible only through games. So unique stuff. Okay, we like unique stuff. So we have the opening as the Shi'ar homeworld. We get a lady that's almost certainly Deathbird. Once again, they're trying to go for the deeper cuts here. Headdress matches. We got the tentacles. Like that seems like a fit to me. We got real quick a green hulking looking style figure. Who knows? And then we got Gladiator. Like, if you're an old school fan, Gladiator is the real deal, right? So if someone can beat Gladiator up, they're no joke.
You do not talk to me like that with my mohawk.
Now, who beat him up? Well, we've suspected in the past, but this is a dead giveaway. Given the skin color we're seeing and what's on his wrist, yeah, it's probably the champion. Now, this isn't new. We've suspected as much when we first saw the game. There's graffiti in the game that says "Fear the Champion." There is iconography in the loading screen that's basically his belt. So what's his deal? He's strong and likes to fight strong people. Like, that's basically a perfect fighting game boss. Makes sense. We'll go with it. And wouldn't you know it, I bet he's the kind of weird jerk that's going to make all sorts of heroes and villains around the Marvel Universe team up to fight him in a grand fighting game way. And that's basically your plot, like effectively, right? So that said, let's move on to some gameplay. So we talked about some themed teams, and turns out that's exactly what we got. And the first one is the unbreakable, not uncanny, unbreakable X-Men, and Storm is the team leader. Now Storm, we know a lot about. Playable in the betas, really cool character, got the whole wind mechanic. Everyone else, not as much. So hey, we got Magik. Now Magik's a long existing character, and I know there's going to be the one person in the comments all mad, but to be real, Magik's very recent claim to fame is Marvel Rivals. I'm sure there's some longtime fans out there, but for 95% of the audience, she didn't exist till Marvel Rivals showed up, basically. Or at best, you knew her as Colossus's sister. And just like Marvel Rivals, big swords, portals, we have the Dark Child form. And Portals seems to be the name of the game. Like the one clip we have here, you can see her setting up a portal, tossing a projectile through the portal, just sort of disappears, and then the projectile comes out the other end while she's also portaling, right? So a lot of movement-based and perhaps zoning-based nonsense that's possible. A lot of non-traditional angles. So from a fighting game perspective, she certainly seems like she'll be pretty interesting. And at a bare minimum, pretty lady, big sword. The audience will sort of figure itself out on that one, I think. Next up, we got Wolverine. To nobody's surprise, but to everyone's joy. Everyone likes Wolverine, right? Like, he's just a short, angry man with a bunch of knives on his hands, and he chops people up into little bits. I can only assume Wolverine is the antithesis of a tricky character like Magik with her portals. That he's like the most rush-down pressure character in the game. He just gets in and stays in, because that's sort of the brand. And I like didn't mess with the classic look too much, right? Like, it's different, but very identifiably the classic Wolverine. He's slashing, he's berserker barraging, he's doing all the things you want him to do. The only thing I got anything to say, it's not even the gameplay, it's just a specific line.
You're cooked, Bob.
Like, I know he says it versus Ghost Rider, so cooked fire or whatever, like, but it doesn't sound right coming out of Wolverine, you know? As a fellow older Canadian myself, that doesn't pass the Canadian content test to me. Like, I don't expect him to go, "No cap, bub. I was jester gooning and got my cortisol level spiked, bub." I don't know. I know it's weird. It's just that in particular did stick out to me. Anyways, then we hit Danger, which I think a lot of people are probably going to be unfamiliar with. Danger is not in the classical comics and shows, right? So Danger is the Danger Room, like just as a physical manifestation. And the original story, I believe, has been retconned, but I remember it as I was reading it. So Danger is the AI of the Danger Room, which Charles Xavier enslaved so he could train his child soldiers better. I know you're saying, wait, what? What? Trust me, if you remember the X-Men of back in the day, Professor X is a very different character in the modern day. And she was also built with the help of Shi'ar technology, which gives her a link to the story bit that we saw earlier. But yeah, sort of like living weapon, can turn into anything kind of character. Looks amazing in the Arc System Works style. Like flying around with like these butterfly wings. You got all sorts of tech traps going around. This character looks cool. Like, if only from a purely visual standpoint, like I'm all the way in. Definitely the most visually impressive of all the characters in the game shown thus far. And for a game that wanted to do some deep cuts, they said they were going to make some non-standard choices. This is absolutely a non-standard choice. And again, gameplay-wise, we can see traps. You can turn her leg into a saw, like... Sorry for more Canadian content, but she's like Astar, the robot from Planet Danger, for all three of you that remember that. Suffice it to say, the character looks cool as hell. Like, that's all I gotta say. This character looks rad. And that is one of our unique teams. So the Unbreakable X-Men, Storm, Magik, Danger, and Wolverine. And there's more themed teams to come. And on the channel before, we speculated about potential like team supers if your team is thematic, and this might be exactly that. We saw something approximating this in the earliest trailers, but this looks like the team all sort of doing their supers together in a really cool way. At least hopefully isn't like an animation trick just for the trailer. I guess we don't know, but looks cool. It looks really cool, like awesome. And then we got this, which team will assemble next? And it's kind of showing some of the other characters we've seen before, right? So assuming like Storm, they're also the team leaders. Well, then what are the teams? Like, is kind of hard to tell. Because you got things that could seem obvious. Like we got the one stage that has the original Avengers in the background, right? And we already have Iron Man, we already have Captain America. So add Thor, add Hulk, boom, we have the Avengers team. Is that what it's gonna be though? Is it actually that easy? You got Ghost Rider, so you can say like Ghost Rider, Blade, Doctor Strange, Morbius, and that's the Midnight Suns. But this isn't that Ghost Rider, this isn't Danny, this is Robbie Reyes, so that necessarily wouldn't fit. We have Star-Lord as a playable character. Where does Star-Lord fit on any of these teams realistically? Unless, once again, we're just getting really weird with it. Spider-Man, I had assumed to be some of the Spider-Universe characters, at least Venom, and they're picking weirder characters, and you need more waifus to be real, so like Black Cat would be maybe a choice I'd go for. Doom would be some sort of nebulous villain team. Like, I just don't know. Once they start putting Danger as one of the playable characters, all bets are off. Nothing, anything you believed is off the table. So if you got your own theories, I would actually love to hear it in the comments below. Please post what you think the following teams will be. And again, this is coming out in August, so it is confirmed this year. So ideally, hopefully, we don't got that long to wait. But yeah, very interesting trailer. Team compositions, maybe teams actually do matter, at least for like cinematic special moves. You know, more oddball choices like Magik, who is more popular these days thanks to Marvel Rivals. And once again, Danger. If you're an OG and you actually know who Danger is, post in the comments below, I guess. But yeah, what a pick. Not one I would have guessed in a million years. But yeah, so interesting things ahead for Marvel Tokon. I'm really extra excited for some of the roster choices now. Now that I know, they said they're going to get weird with it, but now I know they're getting weird with it. Those are two very different things. And when we know more, I guess we'll know more. But that is all the info we have for the moment anyways. So that said, that's it for me. That's it for the video. And thank you very much for watching. Hope this video has found you well. And go out and play some fighting games.